Glory be to the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, one triune God. Amen. When we hear different kinds of wars going on around the world, when every country and the political leaders think in terms of bringing fire down upon nations or communities or whoever they don't agree with, we just listen to a gospel narrative where Jesus' disciples wanted to do the same thing. When Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem, sent his disciples ahead of him and asked them to prepare places for him to stay. So the disciples entered a Samaritan village, but the villagers refused hospitality for him. So immediate reaction of his disciples was, Lord, shall we ask fire from heaven to consume them? If somebody doesn't agree with you, the easiest solution for many of us, or the only solution for many of us, is to destroy them. And that has shown itself throughout the history of the world. Look at any war around, even the wars that goes on around the world today. Even yesterday we heard Israel attacking Syria, and they have their own reasons. I don't want to go to the political reasons. Our own country have got multiple military interests going on in different parts of the world. The leaders of each country will have their own political justifications. But this is something, I would say, very unchristian. Even the church itself goes through this struggle of what are the options we have against the people who doesn't agree with them, other than annihilate them. But Jesus doesn't agree with it. He rebukes them. And in another gospel narrative in the same incident, he tells his disciples, you don't know to which spirit you belong. Many times, our idea of uniformity or our insistence on making other people agree with us or destroy them doesn't agree with the principles Jesus has laid down for us. And that makes our life very difficult. Jesus never claimed that life of following Jesus Christ is an easy life. And then he goes on. Then he moves on. He moves to another village. And as he goes to Jerusalem, someone approaches him. Let me follow you. And in this part of the narrative, we see three people other than Jesus and his disciples. And one approaches Jesus. Lord, let me follow you wherever you go. And Jesus says, don't do that. Because it seems like Jesus sees through this person. I don't have any place even to rest my head. I am worse than, Jesus says that I am worse than the beasts, the animals of the wilderness. Even foxes have their own holes. Birds of the sky has got their nests. But me, I don't have any of this. And many times we are so swallowed by the different kinds of ministries set by different people. Say, what kind of benefits you can get by following Jesus Christ? There are ministries which promise liberation from financial debts. Then there are ministries that promise healing. And in all these things, there is some gain provided to you. And then there are places, if you follow Jesus, he will abundantly bless you with different kinds of financial things. But here, Jesus is saying, don't think those are the things you will get out of me. Your situation most probably will be worse than the foxes and the birds of the air. Then another comes. And this time, Jesus is asking him to follow him. But then he said, let me go and bury my father. In the first reading, it would seem like his father is dead and lying at home. But most probably it is not so, because if his father is dead and lying home, he wouldn't be wandering around the streets. But it is an excuse. Many of us will have, okay, we will do things once everything is settled down. The other day I had somebody who came to me and said, I really wanted to do ministry, and then I thought first let me settle down my family and all those kind of. Now everything is sort of settled down, I may be ready for ministry. I said, I don't think so. Because many times we think we will settle everything else and then decide to follow Christ. We don't realize that following Christ is something either you do it now or we don't do it at all. And that's what Jesus is saying. You are talking about the dead. Let the dead ones handle themselves. And then there is a third one. I will follow you. He is making a promise. But let me say farewell to those at my home. Another one who comes with excuse. Each one, somebody who wants to follow, he has got different intentions. He is not following, his intention of following Jesus Christ is about what he can get out of it. Jesus immediately says, this is not going to happen. Then even when Jesus calls them, somebody is finding excuses. And every time when we are challenged with our own difficulties in following Jesus Christ, we have our own excuses. Because now, as I can imagine, many of us will be thinking how others have excuses. Because rarely we find that we have difficulty in following Jesus Christ. Most of us think that we are the perfect followers. And how others are sitting, who is sitting next to me or in front of me, or as far as I am concerned, everybody who is sitting in front of me, how they find it difficult. But it is time for us to reflect on ourselves. Where do we find in the midst of all these things? To which person among these three we can identify? Most of the time we are the ones in the first category. We claim, we promise, and we immediately find out that following Jesus is not like what we thought it to be. And many times in the meetings and all, you come up to us saying that this is not what I thought it so. The other day, during one of the town hall meetings, somebody came, I imagine this is so. Then I said, finally, we are not worried about your imagination. Church believes in certain things. Many times for us, it is about our own thing. What we can think. How I can feel comfortable. How I can be benefited out of it. But following Jesus is about following Jesus in itself. It is not because we will gain heaven or because we will be pushed to hell, but because it is an end in itself, because we love Jesus Christ. I hope that we will be able to follow Jesus just for the sake of following Jesus rather than getting something out of it. May God bless us all. Thank you.